Hey everyone, I am incredibly excited for today's video. The 2.3 live stream is going to be in a couple of days. By the time you're watching this, it's already ended. So by then, I should have been playing these characters like Lucia as well as Yidhari for about 36 days now. So I wanted to make a video about these 2.3 characters and the road ahead to 2.4 and 2.5. Now, before I do so, I got to get the disclaimers out of the way to avoid some freaky folks. The first thing, of course, is pull whoever you want or don't pull whoever you don't want. And the second thing is things are not finalized, that things may still change. Even in the live stream, they have the text that things are not finalized. For example, for like Orphe, she was changed a couple days right before the launch. Same thing with Seeds Mindscapes, or was it just one Mindscape, M2? And the last disclaimer is I want to keep these very simple, because if I use these characters, the Hoyo text, like the Dream Points or Aftershock Harmony, Ether Veil, and all of that stuff, it's just going to confuse you guys. So I want to keep it as simple and direct as possible. We're going to talk about numbers and math today, but I want to keep it very simple and direct. So let's get right into it. Timestamps down below, by the way. 2.3 first half, we're getting Lucia. And, you know, let's cut the bullshit. She's a support that supports Rupture agents. Now, in the 2.3.0 or 1 of those videos I made about, you know, planning ahead for her gear, I said that she does not have any quick assist. Well, she got some quick assist as you fill up her special attack meter, which I will showcase because they will showcase it in the live stream anyways. But I can't show any of like the detailed combat and her skills and all that stuff just yet. NDA, but the things they have shown in the live stream I can show. Anyways, now let's just get to the important part. How good is she compared to Astra, right? That's what I wanted to know. That's what you guys probably wanted to know. So I wrote it down side by side. I'm gonna write it down on the screen as well. I'm gonna cut all the bullshit. Oh, let's take this as 40 seconds. Repeated trigger extends the duration up to 300. Now this is all going to be party-wise. She's gonna give 5% to max HP, 20% increased damage, and as long as her core passive additional ability is fulfilled, which is easy to fulfill, she just needs to be with a Rupture agent or Stun agent. She gives 30% more crit damage, and she provides 900 up to 900 sheer force if she has at least 24,000 initial HP. Initial HP is the one you see when you look at the character screen, as you're seeing on your screen. And as for Astra, of course, all of these at M0. She gives up to 1200 attack, 25% crit damage, and 20% damage. Now, you may be thinking that, wow, Lucia only gives 5% more crit damage, but Astra's 1200 attack, right? Only 30% of that turns into sheer force, which I will show you guys in game as well, not just on screen. The math, you can see my Ye Shunguang, she gains at 1200 attack. 30% of that gets converted into sheer force, which is 360, as you see, plus 360. So Astra gives 360 sheer force, whereas Lucia gives 900. But wait, remember, she gives at 5% max HP as well. The 900 sheer force as well as the 5% max HP gets converted into 996 sheer force versus the 360 coming from Astra. But there is more. Now, if we compare M0R1 Astra versus M0R1 Lucia, the signatures. Now, I'm going to say this part very slowly. Lucia's Wenjin, none of these agents' Wenjins are mandatory. You don't need it to fulfill the 24,000 initial HP. Of course, Lucia's Wenjin eases that HP requirement because it comes with up to 30% HP, and you can go with energy regen in slot 6 on your disc. And yeah, there's also that energy regen. If we look a little bit closer, she does give a little bit more plus damage than Astra's signature Wenjin. Not only that, there's also this 15% increased max HP. Yo, how much is that, Zeals? How much is that? Well, let's see here. My Lucia with her signature Wenjin gives my Ye Shunguang, my early access Ye Shunguang. This is not the one on my main account, but just follow along with me. She gives that Ye Shunguang 1333 sheer force. So that Ye Shunguang, the early access Ye Shunguang, has about 4,000 sheer force. That's pretty crazy. Versus with Astra, what, 3,000? And let's look at the HP differences. 21,628 with Astra. Now with Lucia, we have 22,709 without her signature, but with signature, my Ye Shunguang, the early access Ye Shunguang, spikes up to 25,954 HP. Kaboom R5 on Lucia you're gonna get about what, 3 to 4 stacks. That's about like 12% attack for your party. Ye Shunguang and Yidhari, while attack isn't useless for them, once again, it's not that efficient because only 30% of it gets converted into sheer force. So Lucia is pretty powerful for Rupture agents, and if you get her signature, even more so. We talked about the horizontal value of Lucia to death on my streams. Astra, we can put her in any attacker teams, like most of all the attacker teams and Rupture teams and anomaly teams. However, Lucia isn't as flexible as Astra. She is more niche towards the Rupture agents. And as I said, there aren't that many Rupture agents, but there are rumors that there are more coming our way throughout the 2.x, which we will get into soon. Now, before we go any further, are there any viewers that are subscribers that are broke right now in Polychromes? Kind of afraid going into 2.3, 2.4, 2.5 important times without the Polychromes? Well, I'm gonna give 10,000 Polychromes to a subscriber, and make sure you are subscribed and do as I say, because last time 5 people got disqualified. So I'm gonna pick a comment from a subscriber to hit the like, saying what their plans are for 2.3. And that's how you enter, guys, for a chance at 10,000 Polychromes from your boy. As for Ju Fufu and her sussy eyes, why is she looking at us like that? As for her, let's cut the bullshit. We know what she is. She is not just like a Rupture stunner. She's a very general stunner. Just like I said with Trigger, Ju Fufu is a luxury unit. You don't need her to clear content, but she definitely does help with that, as well as increasing your score. Now, speaking of Trigger, I did make that video about Trigger and the updated math, as well as the new 2.2 discs. Can you use it on Trigger and all that stuff? Anyways, I'm gonna make a simpler version of this for future agents from now on. So as I said in that video, Trigger in the Rupture teams, Trigger at M0 without her signature. So both Ju Fufu and Trigger at M0 without R1. Trigger is not that far off from, right here, Ju Fufu. So Ye Shunguang doing about this much damage with Trigger, and Ye Shunguang doing about this much amount of damage with Ju Fufu. So you can see Trigger is very close to Ju Fufu without the signature. And of course, Ju Fufu with her signature will win over Trigger with her signature, because Trigger's signature, the defense, ignore, shred, whatever you want to call it, does not really help the Rupture agents except for the anomaly. On short fights, Ju Fufu loses at M0 R0 to Trigger M0 R0. So if you already have Trigger, you already pulled Trigger on the rerun. I know a lot of you guys have, that you don't really need Ju Fufu unless, of course, you want to free up your Trigger. And or on longer fights, where if you look at Ju Fufu's additional ability, she gives that decibel, which does help her win out over Trigger, both of them being M0R0. Now, before we go any further, we need to look at her sussy eyes, because why are they rerunning Ju Fufu already? Well, my guess is that another stunner is coming, maybe favorable to Rupture agents, but I feel like another stunner is incoming in 2.4 or 2.5. And speaking of 2.4, we're going to get the drip marketing for 2.4 within what, first couple of days after 2.3 launches. So if you're on the fence, if you're one of those that like optionality, then you should of course wait for the drip marketing for 2.4. 2.4 is historically in Hoyo games, the 0.4s are pretty big. So let's see what they cook up. If they don't release anything big for 2.4, that does not mean it's over. There is still 2.5 and 2.6. If you saw my 2.4 prep video, I talked about how 2.4 lands on Q4, which they're going to do a lot of things to increase their profits, especially with 2 new Hoyo games in the works. 2.6 can also be in the Lunar New Year as well, which is another big opportunity for them to make a lot of money. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a lot of crazy agents coming in the next 3 patches, 2.4, 5, and 6. So yeah, shop wisely. Now, the next one is Manato. Manato, I'm not going to spend a lot of time because very straightforward. He is a fire Rupture DPS and does a good job at it. He's going to pair really well with Lucia. The thing about Manato, as well as the other DPS Rupture agents, they seem to want a lot of field time. So agents like Lucia, who doesn't take a lot of field time, is just awesome. Same thing with Yidhari and Ju Fufu, because they don't have to eat a lot of the field time. You can just spend a lot of the field time on Manato or Ye Shunguang, Yidhari. And speaking of fire Rupture DPS, I heard there is a rumor that there could be an S rank fire Rupture. I don't know if I buy that just yet, but I wouldn't be surprised either. So getting Manato while participating in Lucia's banner, I think is pretty good value for those that do not have a dedicated fire DPS. And this one happens to be Rupture as well. And he's performing pretty well. And if you do go after Lucia's Wenjin, you can also grab Manato's signature Wenjin. And you can see the condition there. When the equipper's HP decreases, their crit rate increases by 15%. At R5, I think that was 25%. So you can slap that on Yidhari, or you could just give Ye Shunguang signature to Yidhari, and that transitions us to Yidhari. Yidhari is just like Manato, simply put, an ice Rupture DPS. And there's not really much to say about her and Manato. They just do damage and they do a good job at it. There's nothing really complex. They're easy to pretty gear, especially Yidhari. You can slap on, like I said, Manato signature, or you can slap on Ye Shunguang signature on Yidhari. And Yidhari, you can pretty much just directly transfer over Ye Shunguang's discs. And she did get a plastic surgery where her boobs, I think, are the biggest now in ZZZ. You can see it yourselves, and let me know down below what you guys think. Is it the biggest or is it not? I don't know, but you can use the same discs as Ye Shunguang, the Yunquai Summit 4-piece, and you could use the 2-piece Woodpecker if you need the crit. So it's pretty much same gearing as Ye Shunguang, except for, of course, slot 5. She does ice damage. So Yidhari is pretty free-to-play friendly because her discs aren't a pain if you already have Ye Shunguang built. And also, if you already have Ye Shunguang signature, you could pass that down. And as for her third teammate, you can use a free alternative like Lycone. You can use Pokra, you can use Pan, you can use Lighter because she is ice. So yeah, she is pretty flexible in terms of the third option, the third wheel. We do have a lot of ice DPS in the game, so Yidhari will be very optional, and she is at the second half of 2.3. So by then, unless you're really attracted to her assets, I think people will pretty much shift their focus to 2.4, depending on what Hoyo announces for the first half of 2.4. Wink, wink. All right, as for Vivian, I'm on my main account. I told y'all she'll come back in 2.3. I even put it in the thumbnail art. But yeah, she is just adorable, and some may feel that she is overhyped, but she does live up to the hype. She's a very universal anomaly agent that fits into all the anomaly teams. And even if she does get a replica, right, like in the future, an anomaly agent that does what she does, she'll just be in the second anomaly team, right, as the sub DPS. As for her Wenjin, if you do go for, well, this is R5, awkward, but if you do go for her Wenjin at R1, you want to and you place her in Yuzua's team, you don't need to get the anomaly mastery on slot 6. You just go with attack percentage here. I'll make a more dedicated Vivian guide, but simply put, she is still the queen of anomaly in terms of sub DPS, quick swap anomaly agent. And if you do skip her Wenjin because you're going for Gemini, Gemini is just fine for her. You don't need her Wenjin, thankfully. But if you do go down her, if you want to pick up her mindscapes during the rerun, M1 and M2, they are very, very strong. At M6, she flies at M6. That's not M6, that's M5. But anyway, she flies, she becomes hyper carry, she could be main DPS, she could be quick swap. She's one of those agents that have crazy mindscapes. I don't know what happened at 1.7, but Hugo and yeah, Vivian especially got crazy mindscape. So if you're looking forward to going vertically with her, then I highly recommend that. I don't think you'll regret it. Maybe they're giving us Vivian right now because maybe the devs are not looking to introduce a new anomaly for a little bit. Maybe they want to keep pushing Rupture agents in 2.4, 2.5 with a stunner like I mentioned in 2.4. I think. So yeah, this may be that anomaly little agent for the time being until anomaly wave comes back. But that's just my prediction. Anyways, that's gonna be the video, guys. Hopefully it was helpful. Make sure you guys smash the like. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.